Tziji's Cash for Work program and disaster surveys continue in the Philippines. We look back to the history of organic tea and meet the first tea farmer to receive an organic certification. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. We kick off today's program in the Philippines as many disaster survivors are still located in temporary shelters. Tzi volunteers are currently visiting them with hot meals and words of encouragement. In Tacloban City, Tzi's Cash for Work program received positive feedback from the general public, with the number of typhoon survivors participating increasing dramatically over the past week. The income received from the relief work program has allowed residents to purchase daily necessities and brought a sense of hope and energy to the disaster areas. What was once piles of debris and rubble today symbolized the hope of a fresh beginning. With simple tools in hand, residents are picking up bits and pieces as they rebuild their homes.
The Tzi Foundation let us know that we need to work if we want to make a change.
This is a great way to provide working opportunities for us, so there is no looting.
Tzi's Cash for Work program in Tacloban saw an increase of up to 3 times the amount of participants on the second day, a number which volunteers couldn't be happier about.
Last night when they received their money, I'm sure everybody saw it. So now they say, we believe Tzi. So they are here today.
Where there is faith, there is hope. The once abandoned roads are now full of life as typhoon survivors are no longer buried in grief but try to look for reusable materials to rebuild their homes.
Of course, Tacloban will rise again because we are already back on our feet. Say it with me.
Bye, Tacloban!
Makakapera sila.
We get to earn money and help our community and environment.
At sa kapaligiran nila.
In spite of the drizzling rain, the positive energy brings a sense of hope here. Letting go of their sadness, residents young and old work to clean up the debris as they stand ready for a fresh beginning.
We need to keep this attitude because we need to clean away the debris that is making the surrounding areas smell really bad.
Upon receiving their pay for the day's work, local residents know that the recovery ahead will be one full of hope and love with Tzi by their side. Following the destruction left by Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, a group of Tzi volunteers and medical staff have been surveying the worst-hit cities of Tacloban and Unmarked. Despite the difficult environment, volunteers continue to devote themselves to helping typhoon survivors get back on their feet. Let's take a look. As soon as they arrive at one of the worst-hit areas in Unmarked, Tzi volunteers survey the distribution sites to ensure a safe and secure venue can be readied before the event.
We should temporarily remove this metal frame. It is quite dangerous when there are so many going in and out of the place.
As this is the first time many residents have seen Tzi, volunteers were surrounded by curious children. Following a tight schedule, it was only after sunset that volunteers realized they only had their mobile phones to depend on for light. The presence of the volunteers brings the children a sense of happiness. With no water or electricity, traveling has become a difficult task in the disaster areas. On the way from Unmarked to Tacloban, volunteers also stopped by the municipality of Tunga for a quick visit.
Bili para sa
Though situated in between two major disaster areas, relief items and assistance have yet to arrive in Tunga. A predicament volunteers discovered while visiting the region.
We haven't included this area to our distribution list, only the city of Unmarked. This region has been left out.
Upon learning of the residents' plight, volunteers promised to return with further assistance. Though having to spend the night at a local hospital, volunteers are not taken back by the tough conditions as they set up the venue for an overnight stay. Despite having to work in the dark, volunteers still manage to pack up the medicine. With only 3 bathrooms to use, some volunteers get up early to prepare clean water for their team of over 100 medical staff and volunteers.
We have rinsed all the buckets so that the medical staff and volunteers can use them.
Volunteers hope to be ready before sunrise, so to ensure the relief work ahead goes according to plan. Tzu Chi volunteers worldwide have joined together to canvass for donations for disaster survivors in the Philippines. In Myanmar, Tzu Chi volunteers prayed for residents affected by the catastrophe at a recent gathering. While in the United Kingdom, Tzu Chi volunteers gathered at a local Chinese supermarket to encourage shoppers to give a little of their love.
Outside this Chinese supermarket, Tzu Chi volunteers are canvassing for donations for typhoon survivors in the Philippines.
I'm glad to be here with Tzu Chi UK because it's basically doing a really good thing and positive thing, which is trying to help others.
Volunteers also extend their gratitude to the owner for offering his venue in support of their cause.
We are all people in this global village and we should help one another. Those in the Philippines are people. We Chinese are also people. We are all people of God.
Meanwhile, in Myanmar, Tzu Chi volunteers seized the opportunity to update care recipients on the situation in the Philippines. As some of the recipients are themselves survivors of Typhoon Nagas in 2008, they gladly joined the volunteers in prayer on behalf of the typhoon survivors.
When cancer patients reach the terminal stage of their illness, performing surgery, electrotherapy, or chemotherapy often can no longer effectively control the growth of cancer cells or prolong a patient's life. This is when an alternative area of healthcare is available, which offers a support system that improves the quality of life for family members and patients who are at the final stage of life's journey.
I believe everything that Mr. Zheng Yan says, to let go but at peace and change my mindset.
Mr. Young couldn't come to terms with the fact that he had terminal cancer. The ongoing treatments only added to his suffering as well as the suffering of his family.
Previously, my son couldn't come to terms with it.
For people diagnosed with terminal cancer, the time will come when the focus of treatment changes to palliative care, as further treatment such as surgery, chemotherapy or electrotherapy is no longer effective.
The medical staff were often there for him and remained by his side, teaching him to recite the name of the Buddha and giving him guidance.
Those nearing the end of their life find strength and courage through faith. The mother and son pair chants together the Buddha's name.
I feel a sense of inner peace when I write out the Buddhist scriptures.
Only when one comes to terms with their illness can the heart attain inner peace. On this day, Mr. Young's first recital is taking place in the lobby of the hospital. Originally an atheist, Mr. Young now vows to become a disciple of Master Zheng Yan.
From now on, you are Master Zheng Yan's disciple. You have taken refuge in the Master.
接受上人的皈依证。
感恩。
你的法号是
吉祥，吉祥师兄是我们家的荣耀。
妈妈才是我的荣耀。
When he took refuge in the Master, it was as if the Master's courage and resolution had been passed on to him.
Many people mistakenly believe that the palliative care ward is a place where patients simply await their deaths. In fact, it's the opposite.
Here at the palliative care, they not only prescribe medicine and treatment, they also focus on attending to emotional and spiritual needs.
Palliative care addresses the physical, emotional, spiritual, and social needs of patients, allowing them to walk the final leg of their lives with dignity.
It helps to mend their interpersonal relationships and allows them to, in the final stages of their lives, find their self-worth. I believe I will do better in my next lifetime.
On November 14th, Mr. Young passed away peacefully. His parents, medical staff, and volunteers all remained by his side as he came to the end of his life. In our report tomorrow, we bring you inspiring stories of the guardian angels of cancer patients.
In Thailand, city volunteers and Tzu Chings held a relief distribution at the Ban Hui School in Chiang Mai province. To meet residents' needs, Tzu Chings and their teachers conducted home visitations 2 months prior to the event. Other than handing out cooking oil, salt, blankets, and other daily necessities, volunteers also prepared new backpacks for needy students.
Early in the morning, Thailand Tzu Chi volunteers and Tzu Chings are heading to Ban Hui School to conduct a relief distribution. Although the students here don't need to pay tuition fees, many can afford something as simple as a backpack. Upon learning of their plight, other than handing out aid supplies, this time Tzu Chings have thoughtfully included new backpacks for students. To meet the needs of residents, months before the relief distribution, Tzu Chings and their teachers visited local residents door to door. Seeing that many seniors were unable to carry their aid supplies home, Tzu Chings happily offered assistance. And after the aid distribution, local residents put on performances to express their thanks. As the Tzu Chings were busy during the 3-day event, many did not have time to call their parents. Upon hearing their parents' voice, several burst into tears.
This time I was in charge of the relief distribution and had to prepare everything. I learned how to handle and solve many problems.
After the aid distribution, Tzu Chings and the volunteers arrived at the homes of aid recipients. Upon seeing the harsh living conditions, many Tzu Chings realized how fortunate they themselves are and promised to cherish their blessings in the future.
To provide clean drinking water to disaster survivors, the Tzu Chi Foundation has teamed up with Taiwan's Industrial and Technology Research Institute to develop boats equipped with water purification devices. In addition, the research team also modified one of the boats to provide hot water so that Tzu Chi volunteers will be able to prepare hot meals to disaster victims in the aftermath of any tragic event.
In the disaster areas, a cup of clean drinking water is almost impossible to get. In the wake of the AA floods in Taiwan in 2009 and the massive flooding in Thailand in 2011, the Tzu Chi Foundation, in cooperation with the Industrial and Technology Research Institute, devised boats equipped with the water purification system.
We have noticed that in the disaster zones, survivors are in desperate need of safe drinking water. However, water resources are usually all unclean.
Functioning like a small wastewater treatment plant, the boat first extracts muddy water that flows through a filtration membrane and an active carbon layer to filtrate out dirt and bacteria. The liquid is then sterilized by ultraviolet light to convert it into drinkable water.
In disaster zones, one can use this water treatment system to get safe drinking water, and this boiling water system can also provide hot water for cooking instant rice or noodles.
The boat can provide 5 tons of drinkable water each day, as a single person requires around 10 liters of water a day. That means the boat can provide for the needs of up to 500 people.
In the future, the water purification system will be installed on other vehicles such as cars or planes in order to meet other disasters and help disaster survivors get much needed assistance.
Staying in Taiwan, organic tea farming has become more popular over the past decade thanks to the efforts of the Tea Research and Extension Station. Today we meet the first tea farmer in Taiwan to receive an official organic certification for his tea field, Liang Jingyi, who says organic tea farming probably won't make one rich, but the spiritual fulfillment and connection to the land that comes with the job is more than enough.
This is Lin Mu Lian, who was a staff member of the Tea Research and Extension Station during 1980s. Today he is here in Taoyuan's Puxin Township to meet tea farmer Liang Jingyi.
I was lucky to meet Mr. Lin, who told me how to run an organic tea farm. It was at a class organized by the MOA International Foundation of Nature Ecology.
Needless to say, the topic of their conversations is about organic tea farming.
但是我进来都用杯的铺草。对，因为现在用杯的铺草哈，会有震动的问题。对，年纪大了也会受影响。我们都知道茶农现在的所遭遇的问题啊。
When Liang Jingyi was young, he decided to take over a tea farm left behind by a neighbor. Soon after, he started experimenting with growing organic tea.
At that time, organic farming was becoming popular worldwide. The general public share an understanding that pesticides are harmful to human body, as well as to the biodiversity of the planet.
In 1995, the Tea Research and Extension Station started a scheme to promote organic tea farming in Yangmei, Longtan, and Miaoli. However, farmers at first had doubts.
What concerns most of the tea farmers is the decrease of their yield if they don't use pesticides.
Yes, I had to put in extra effort and the yield was lower.
Today in Taiwan, organic tea farms have gone from 5 hectares in 1996 to 400 hectares last year. In the first quarter of this year, the combined farming area has already overtaken last year's total. However, in comparison with ordinary tea farms, organic tea farms only account for 2% of total land usage. Despite the economic challenges that tea farmers face, Liang still managed to get through the low production years to acquire the first official organic tea certification in 1997.
This is how we weed in organic farming. We dig the soil on the side and refill the dirt by next spring.
Giving up on using herbicides, 54-year-old Liang insists on weeding through manual labor.
Check this out, patches all over my back. This is the consequence of doing organic farming. Muscle pain and soreness is inevitable, but at least you can enjoy better health.
Today, Liang's tea farm generates a stable production, and his passion towards organic tea has helped him as he expands his business.
Some of my customers are funny. They insist on buying our tea. They say they want to drink tea without pesticides.
I'm very happy to see that he continues to devote himself to organic farming.
Money matters, especially when you are old. However, to me, friendship is worth more than gold. Drinking tea with old friends is one of the greatest blessings in life, isn't it?
Cherishing the natural environment of Taiwan, Liang Jingyi chose the path of organic tea farming to the benefit of himself and the land around him.
In Australia, a large number of single mothers can be found among the country's homeless population. To provide assistance, the Australian government has set up affordable housing for single parents' families. However, there isn't enough housing to meet the current demand, so many are still waiting for slots to open up. To help these families with heavy financial burden, Tzu Chi regularly holds free clinics, and at a recent event, some 30 single mothers received help.
At Tzu Chi's free clinics for the poor and homeless, one sees mostly single mothers and their children. In Australia, the homeless population consists of two groups: those who do not have a roof over their heads and single-parent families without a stable place to call home. To help both groups, Tzu Chi holds regular free clinics. It affects us deeply when we see single mothers and their children attending our free clinics. Some of them have been abused in their home, while others had children out of wedlock. We see them all. In Australia in 2003, single-parent families made up 22.3% of all families with young children, which means for every 5 families, 1 is a single-parent family. In 2012, out of 960,000 single-parent households, 540,000 children's primary giver is their mother.
In Australia, we'd have a population of families where it's an intergenerational issue. So it's been, their housing instability has been going on for a long time, probably even since the parents were children. They often have only gone up to grade 9 in high school, if that. They've been in trouble with juvenile justice and adult prison systems.
How are you, Melissa? Good. Melissa, this is Alison from Zoo.
Melissa, a single parent, fell into her current situation after her husband passed away. Her family's finances crumbled and she was unable to pay for rent on her own. Finally, with the assistance of a homeless shelter, Melissa was able to find government-subsidized housing for her and her children.
About 6 months ago, I didn't want to be here without him anymore. I thought it wasn't fair because I have to do it all by myself now. If I would have known that it was going to be like this, I wouldn't have had this many children. But we always wanted lots of children.
Melissa has 2 young children under the age of 3. Her other 4 children are off at school during the day. Raising 6 children alone, one can imagine the household chores that pile up and the corresponding lack of quality time with her children.
I spent a lot of time looking after my husband before he died, but I didn't have enough time for them, plus care for him. Because he was in a wheelchair, I had to take him to the toilet and just more or less take him everywhere. And I didn't have that much time to spend with my kids.
Even as a 2-parent family, spending quality time with children is already complex. Being a single parent with so many children just adds to the difficulty. Stepping into communities, Tzu Chi realized many cases like Melissa are out there, needing help. With assistance from homeless shelters and the Australian government, families like Melissa's can rest easy knowing that they are not alone in raising their children.
We go to the United States at the end of our show in San Jose, California. Tzu Chi volunteers have cared for the city's homeless for over 13 years. Every Sunday, volunteers will visit car parks, riversides, and areas around the train station to distribute breakfast to the homeless. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.